This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian.
We're watching movies. Best movies of all time. This movie is the 38th best movie of all time, according to IMDb. That was the ranking when it was frozen back in 2016. This movie is number 46 now, so it hasn't moved too much. It's The Intouchables. Yeah. You guys ever heard of this movie before?
I had not.
No, it's not surprising.
I thought it was a heartwarming movie.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did.
Were you not warmed? Was your heart not warmed?
I want you guys to go first. John, it's your turn to go first.
His heart was not warm.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
What did you think, John? Heartwarming story. Okay. Let's hear why.
The thing you might say is it feels like it was designed to be heartwarming. So if you think about it too much, if you ask yourself, am I being manipulated? You might respond yes. But if you don't question it, you're watching these good actors, very good looking actors, like very charismatic actors.
Oh, dude, that guy's a stud, huh?
Driss, you're right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was just, very charismatic. But also I thought that, Francois, the guy who played Philippe, was really good too. He did the emotions very well. But this is a feel-good story, and it's designed to be that way. And I went along with it and really liked it, though.
Same.
So it gives you, it's a feel-good story. Maybe it gets a pass because it's showing you some things, an experience we don't see often in the movies. So we don't get to see the paraplegic experience very often. Certainly there are films.
Well, we don't get to see a fake paraplegic.
Well, that's right.
Well, there is another
exactly
French movie that tackles this exact topic.
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly call this movie.
We don't get this situation in a feel-good, heartwarming.
He looks pretty comfortable throughout the.
That's true. That's true.
Should those things be combined, really John? Should they ever be combined?
I don't know.
Feel good and I think so. I'll give you a reason why.
Exactly. Yeah, the movie raised a lot of awareness for their cause. There's a charity that the profits from this movie, a certain percentage of the profits are going to it. That's helping disabled people. So it's not a bad thing. It's not a necessarily realistic portrait, but it is based on true story and a true relationship that happened. So there are some factual elements to it. Of course, the two guys that it's really based on aren't nearly as good looking as the two guys that we see on film. So this is a Hollywoodized, even though it wasn't Hollywood, but it has that feeling. Like here we're going to have some really good looking people doing this. And that's going to be part of the heartwarming story.
And doing some shit that they would never get away from, away with in real life.
Like speeding from the cops in that way, right?
Right.
And that was...
Or even being able to trick them into being like, you know what I mean?
That opening was weird. That was strange. That struck a strange
car thing?
tone.
The car chase?
Yeah. Run from the cops. Like that's
I forgot
fun.
that happened by the time it came back to that. I was like, wait a minute. That's this movie. That's the same fucking movie. That's weird.
It's the same movie.
That movie. Oh man, this is just like that other movie I watched. Oh wait,
they never brought back the betting.
Yeah.
I thought like the betting on doing crazy things was like in the beginning. I thought that was going to be like where they went to like feel the excitement of life, but it was only used during that one scene during the intro.
Which is strange. So that really felt odd that they're gonna risk their lives like that, and he's gonna take him to this date that he set up like at the end of that. Might have been a bummer if he'd have done that, and then they crashed when it worked out so well. Right.
Yeah.
Or gotten locked up. Hey, I had this date set up for you, man, but we decided to run from the police. So sorry about that. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was still moving. And again, I can see why it was like a sensation. Like it's a very feel good movie. People went and saw it and felt good about it, and it was neat that it had this true story behind it. And so it played together well. Is it like one of the best movies ever made? Nah.
Oh, you're dropping it early.
No, it's not.
No,
it's definitely not.
It's not the 48th best movie ever made. It's
I
not.
know. This is a crowd pleaser, though. It's a crowd pleaser.
This is where some of my problem with this movie comes from. Is it's about a rich fucking asshole, and we're supposed to just think he's a normal person who like deserves happiness just like everyone else. But all he does is he pays somebody who's poor, not enough apparently, because he's still fucking poor at the end of the movie. He doesn't help this fucking guy out at all, and we're supposed to be happy that the down and out guy is helping out this rich fucking guy.
He sells his painting for tens of thousands of dollars.
10,000. He gave him 10 G's.
Plus, he is earning a living doing this and getting room and board
and staying at the house.
Stuff. Yeah,
come on.
Again, apparently in real life, the guy's got his own business now,
but I do see your point, Denny. Your point is that like the person sucks, which is what the person doesn't really change much. He's still he's still kind of a shithead rich guy at the end, right? So I see your point.
And it's snobby, right?
But I do think that the overall, the goal of the story was just to talk about how like everybody needs love, right? That's like ultimately there were other pieces. That was the story.
But
right?
I like the idea too of
I see what your problem is.
Of how he didn't want pity. And I like that angle too. Like that's why he wanted this guy, because he didn't want pity. But
that through line of that story didn't sustain throughout the movie because he took pity after not getting it from this guy.
And
the guy who helped, the helper guy, his character was inconsistent too, because like morally he was supposed to be like the most honest person there was, and that's why the rich guy liked him. But then he lied all the time, and then also used bullying to get what he wanted. Like, and the characters were like so all over the place throughout this movie, and it kind of just
sort of.
But I don't think that was the point, because like I said, the characters don't change.
It was the sappy music and the sad scenarios and the funny jokes.
It was about the idea of like someone having a new life again, right?
And so,
but that, if it was that, I mean that inherently isn't bad. Like I might like a story if that's it, but that's not what this movie is.
No, I know. But think about it like this, right? You've got two characters. Like, this is kind of what happens in life, right? Like people don't really change. They don't change much. If they do think change for the better, but it's not like a complete 180. And so ultimately this guy wasn't going to change much. He's old. He's quadriplegic. He's lonely, right? The other guy he's pretty set in his ways too, right? And that's kind of like why they got along, I think, is because they're both very much characters in their own right. And nobody's changed. They don't even want to change each other. He doesn't want to make the black guy better. The black guy doesn't want to make the other guy better. It's just kind of like they're friends. And I think that's what they were trying to show, is that like even if you're quadriplegic and have the worst of the worst situation happening to you, you can still have a good life and a friendship. They didn't obviously always tell it perfectly. And I think a lot of it was very much to be commercial and to be sappy and to get people's heartstrings and all this other stuff. So I think their intent was executed like they wanted to. I just, you have to put a lot.
They made the money.
You have to put a lot behind. You have to put a lot aside.
You
have to put a lot aside. You have to put aside the part that he's quadriplegic, and that's not something that's really discussed in the movie. You have to put aside the fact that like this will probably never happen. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to have a guy who comes from his class system go to the rich guy's system and have it work. It's just not really a thing. It's not something I believed. But then again, it does spark that whole like, well, now they're friends. No one would believe that either, right? And then you go back to the factual thing that they were friends, and you're like, fuck.
Right.
But the movie can help you. The movie can help you make that scenario believable. It's the movie's responsibility to make that real scenario seem real in the story.
That's not what this movie wanted to do.
It starts out with their relationship meeting each other.
I know, but
right?
this movie wanted to tell you the feel-good story parts
about like how anyone can have a friend.
This is what the movie wanted to do, and it wasn't trying to do something like artistic.
It's such a boiled down fucking thing that this movie's trying to do that.
But it is. But that's why it was
just
very.
Seems like it does the topics.
It's real popular
injustice.
Entertainment, though. So that's why it's so popular.
Well,
like, that's why
I don't know about
so well in France.
I mean, I had never heard of it before.
No, but in France, it was like the highest grossing film there.
I'm sure.
And
it's made a ton of money.
Right, until it was replaced by Lucy, which I had no idea that was a French film either. With Scarlett Johansson, which I never saw that. Huh?
Luc Besson did that one.
Did he? I didn't
think so.
I didn't know. Yeah.
So
I don't know. So I had so
go ahead.
Have you guys ever seen the movie The Diving Bell and the Butterfly?
Oh yes.
No.
Yes,
that movie is the best movie about quadriplegics you will ever see.
And it's not a happy time.
All right.
No.
Let me look that up and put it on the list.
It's a really good film. It is really. It's also based on a book too.
It is.
What is it called?
The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Diving
Yeah.
Bell and the Butterfly.
Oh, do we want to
Okay.
assign it to us then?
We could.
Should we watch it?
We can watch that one next week. Want to go back to that?
Hey, let's do it.
Because
Let's do it, Danny. That
because I
works.
love that movie. That movie was, I thought, incredible. I thought it was definitely more of an art house movie, but it is based on a true story, and it is
another one
about a quadriplegic person.
Right.
Right. And
Okay.
just having that as a comparison to like what this movie does. This movie is like, this is part of the point of it. Like they did a good job of making money and stuff, but it's like instead of trying to do the pain justice and like the difficulty or anything negative, it kind of really does that part very lightly. Like the parts where he's in the bed and it's suffering, like it touches on that like 3 times, but doesn't dwell on it. This guy has like panic attacks, has like the phantom pain and all that stuff, but I don't think this movie really does enough to show.
No,
how
and I will
awful
say I
that
didn't
stuff
quite
is.
understand it seemed like an anxiety attack, not like phantom pain.
I thought it was an anxiety attack at first too, but then
I was
they-
not clear on that
I think
until
he
later.
explained it later. that
Well,
he was-
right, which
yeah.
isn't great.
No.
Yeah.
Not great. So I mean, I had
There's
that
a lot of that kind of stuff in this, but again, I think what John was saying is there's a fork in the road. You get to the point of like, am I going to acknowledge that this is, schlock, or am I gonna just like kind of go with it and just kind of enjoy the fact that what they're trying to say is that like everybody deserves a friend and and not to be miserable their whole lives regardless of their
And that these
situation.
guys are friends. I mean, again, this guy was rich and he got remarried even after the accident, and they adopted kids. I don't know if they adopted kids or whatever, but anyway.
That's a good story to make up, though. It's
But it did happen. he did get remarried, and
That's awesome.
and the guy that was his helper got his own business and got married too, and is very successful. And he did come from a life of crime. He came from like the ghetto, more or less, and he was actually in real life. It was a government mandated program where he was assigned as an assistant. It wasn't like there was an interview process that he was selected by the person.
Wow.
But this was part of like a community service sort of thing.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they made it. I mean, they don't even need to keep that detail in. Just like, I honestly wasn't on board at all with this movie. I will admit that I laughed a bunch in the middle because there was some pretty funny stuff in there.
When
but
they were
It's a
having fun together?
Good buddy comedy
right,
there, right?
but that's like in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the first few scenes, the car chase scene, I didn't get it. I thought it was weird. And then the
I
scene
thought it
where-
went on. It dragged on for too long.
Yeah, and then the scene
Yeah.
where he goes in and he tries to get the job. I thought that scene was like flat out bad. I was like, oh, this acting is like really bad. And like, where is this story going? The first scene I was like, okay, here's something good is when the person applying for the job talks to his mother, is it? And she like kicks him out of the house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that was good. But then
This is painful. That's good. This is unhappy.
I got
Right.
Danny's
As long as
warming up
it's
to
negative
this.
and angry and unhappy
That's
and dark,
That's
then
that's
he's-
what life is.
So I
Yeah.
kind of got some things like, in some ways this movie made me feel like a Amir Khan movie, but like worse. You know how sometimes those movies.
Dude, I was gonna say that. So it's so
Yeah.
true. I got the same kind of feeling
Yeah.
out of that actor.
It has
Yeah.
some similarities too. Like
Yeah.
when you think of like Stars on Earth, where there's a really good message there. There's a good cause behind it,
and
the
it's
movie
patched together
supports-
horribly, and there's
Right, I
some
know.
really fucked
I
up
know.
drama scenes
But-
going on that
But the
don't belong
movie
in there.
supports the cause too. So even by like going and paying to
It's
watch
hard to
the film,
criticize it, yep.
you're bringing money back into that
Yep.
cause, and you're bringing up awareness. And like Amir Khan's films have actually done, they enact change in the country.
Yep.
Right.
So
right.
they have had an enormous impact. So it's a force of good, even if you might tear apart the film like from an artistic standpoint, or
It's not
if
even
you
that.
wanted
So
to.
I mean, they're obviously
or that from a manipulation standpoint. I
Not
guess,
even
if you
that
want.
either. I
So
think
what is it? What
it's
is the
the
how would you-
moral
where would you
standpoint
want to
of this
turn?
movie. The moral standpoint of this
What's
movie.
the moral standpoint?
The moral, I mean, there's the bullying factor. Like you're supposed to consider this guy that's hired. What's his name? Let me use his name.
Are you also considering that it's France?
No, I like French movies.
Okay. No,
I
I'm
have
just saying
no
France,
problem with any type
they
of
have
foreign
a different.
movies.
They have a different way of living their life.
It could be.
right.
I don't know.
It
I
is.
don't know.
What do you mean? They're out there on the streets in
So
Paris fighting
Driss
right
is
now.
Well,
the,
yeah, but I mean,
I mean, come
is
on.
that reflected
They're
in this
a
movie?
tough crowd. They don't give a fuck. They're very much,
to
you
save
know.
you looking up, it's Driss.
Driss.
Is the
Yeah.
And then there's Francois is the paraplegic here, and Driss is the helper guy.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, this could be nitpicking, but this bothered me because the movie passes it over as if it's nothing. But the fact he bullies people, and it's supposed to be a part of the joke, and like there's a tonal inconsistency between like the serious moral things the movie tries to like show you in terms of it doesn't matter who you are, you need to be like, it's worth being friends, but that whole scenario is based on pay anyway, you know, so like even their friendship, the main part of it, which is nice, it only exists because the guy gets paid from this other guy.
Because Driss gets paid by Philippe.
Right. They wouldn't
Right.
have been friends otherwise.
Right. Well, and they wouldn't have initially, but they developed a friendship, which is
reality.
kind of the idea.
Right.
In reality, and the movie tries to want to say that too, you know, that this friendship develops.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It just,
But I see what your point is. Your point is like your morals that you're showing aren't actually in alignment with the morals in real life because they're friends. But we're like, the audience is receiving a certain message that doesn't necessarily relate to the reality. So they're using the reality as a crutch to be like, well, it's okay if we're not being moral now because they are friends. You know, is that what you're kind of like not happy with?
yeah.
'Cause I feel like we watch a lot of
there's
movies with
things,
shitty morals.
There's a couple things about
It's
this movie
like-
that I'm not even sure I really want to talk about. I guess I'll bring them up
Okay.
and then we'll see if I want to edit them
You
out.
can
If they
edit
come
them
out
out or if you want.
extremely ignorant
that's fine.
or
Insensitive?
whatever, insensitive.
Lacking compassion.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just don't like the whole idea of a rich white guy helping out a poor black guy a little bit.
I
Right?
see.
That whole thing. And that's like the whole movie. When I looked it up,
Right,
I was
right.
like, was
It's-
this guy
it's like
actually
he's
black
the
in real
white
life? No, he
savior.
wasn't. They cast this
They
guy
were
as
both
black.
like,
But
yeah,
he was
right.
he was low income, like off the streets.
He
like,
was,
right?
but they from what they said, they cast him because he was in another one of these directors' movies and they liked him so much. And that's a
Well,
fair
he's-
excuse.
he
But at
is
the same
good,
time,
too,
with
to be
this
fair
kind
to
of
him.
movie, he's funny. You know, he's charismatic and he's funny. I don't know if I buy him as like a realistic character, but that's beyond the point of the movie. But I just
Right.
think in general, the whole idea of this movie is like, and this isn't even in reality, but it's like just the racial implications of like, you got a rich white guy who's not giving out to charity. He has a fucking mansion. Like he doesn't need all that space.
Right.
That stuff irritates me in general anyway. Like you don't need all this
Right.
shit. Sure, you can have people help you because you need it because you're quadriplegic, but you don't need like a chef and all this shit in this giant house that you can't even fucking use.
Have you ever met rich people?
I know. I hate rich people, right? They're
Right.
they're destroying the world.
So
and I
that's the
think
thing.
that's part of the
You
problem.
just need to accept that. Yes. So yeah, if
boy.
that and that's understandable.
This is where I'm coming from, TC. It's really, really
Yeah, I
deep
don't, I'm
anger.
not touching that one with a 10
Yeah.
foot, 10 foot
and
pole.
that makes sense. No, but it's also that's the point is we're supposed to see his humanity, even though this is his lifestyle, this is who he is, and there's lots of people like this,
Mhm.
and including this guy in real life.
But just like you're saying, he
whether or
sold his
not.
painting. Sure, that's nice, but I mean, he's only helping one person, and it's because the
Mhm.
person like makes him laugh. Like he's basically paying a fucking jester to come and do like literally sing and dance in front of him, make him laugh, and he gives him a little tiny bit of what he has. You know,
Mhm.
that's generally
called-
what's happening.
That's called pretty typical. of
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what I'm watching
more-
when I'm
is
watching
it
this
shitty
movie.
though if it's based in reality?
But it isn't.
And that's,
based in
I think,
reality.
no, but I'm saying that's their argument of
But
doing
that
these
is-
little story points,
This is
right?
the way this
Like,
guy. I don't know
Oh.
the details for sure.
Yeah,
but
right.
He was born rich, and he was born into extreme wealth. He did work. It's not like he was a lazy no good. He like increased his own wealth through business dealings. But that's what happened. So that's really the guy. I don't know if just because if you're ridiculously wealthy, if that just makes it so you can't watch anything else they do or
No,
see
I
them
can.
as
But if it's passed over in a way that this movie does it,
right.
it irritates
Right.
me.
Like how do you, again, how do you just coincide this with like, a small fraction of what this guy spends per day could have taken care of everybody else in the film for life. You know,
Yeah, but we're making
that sort of
gross
thing. But
assumptions that there's all this side story stuff, and that's not. It's a
But
movie.
that's not. The film does not give a shit.
I mean,
about
come on,
this.
guys.
It does not care.
It doesn't.
This film does not care about those
It's not-
things, and it's
It
not
basically
living
tells you
in-
don't worry about any of the implications of like being this rich or
Right,
hiring
right.
somebody for your entertainment.
Right.
Well,
'Cause he doesn't
yes.
need someone to help him. He has
Meanwhile,
people
though,
to help
in
him.
America, you realize that every single person that exists and that is into this social media world and the Kardashians, they all want that.
Well, they all do this, but they also we hire
What?
people
I
to clean
mean-
our house. We do. I mean,
yeah,
and they suck.
we do all kinds of things.
Yeah, what else would we?
I mean,
you're-
there's
slippery slope
those,
here, bud.
those
Is it?
distinctions are there
Yeah.
more or less everywhere. I mean, you're seeing an extreme, but there's these distinctions. Whether it's the waitress that gives you your food, or the person that you hire to clean your house, or those are the
or
same kinds
the
of distinctions.
AV department that shows up to build your stupid thing for your party, like it's
I
all.
don't know.
If it's
It's
for
all
money and
service
everyone's
stuff.
getting paid, that's part of like how we work in this system.
I guess the challenge is
Been living
like-
in San Francisco for too long. but
well, no, it's a problem though, because I thought that would like chill you
Yeah.
out of it. I
It's
mean,
Bay
I thought you
Area
would like because of the people
fucking
trying to
mentality right
stab you, you might be a little more like fuck them. But
You're okay with all these billionaires, TC? Just
oh,
checking.
absolutely. I want to be one. Definitely on the
Oh,
track.
come on.
I would totally have someone.
You're never
going to
be one, TC.
But
You're
wait,
never going to
but
be one.
look at it this way too, though, Denny. I mean,
The first
again,
time I had someone clean my house, I was like, "Oh, this is what it's all about." So I don't know about you, but yes. Womp womp.
So this is why I didn't want to bring it up, because this
It's
is a
hard.
touchy subject that isn't exactly.
It's touchy. It's a hard one, but the thing is that's
Yeah.
kind of hard is the three of us are all pretty successful white guys.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of savings, for example, but we keep it for the kids in college, and then we're just being careful with our money and stuff. I could do a lot more to help everybody around me, and I don't.
Yeah.
I could give
Right.
away a lot, and I don't. Am I bad because of that? I mean, I'm not living in the lap of luxury, but I'm also like,
John, you don't have over $10 million. You don't have over $100 million.
No, I know.
This guy
I know,
has
I know,
over
but it's
$100
a
million
matter- I know
in this movie.
but it's a matter of it's a
all
relative
relative,
thing. It's a
Yeah,
relative thing.
right.
I don't think it's like I don't think it's what I don't give is that different from. I think it scales up for people, and I mean, I'm trying to understand from their perspective because I wonder about it too. It's like, fuck, how can you just have so much money? And I really wish I never got to sit down and talk with a millionaire and just ask them that question. It would be really interesting.
I
to
think it's
know.
worse when you're born
But-
into it, because you're
Well, yeah,
born into
then it's your
you're born
lifestyle.
into an echelon that you don't even see the poor.
Right. You just
So
think
they're
people
not
are-
thinking about
I mean-
it
I
like
mean,
that,
there's-
because
and-
their
right.
version of poor is someone that doesn't have a fucking Bentley, right? So like, it's just all not the same thing, because they're not even in
Yeah.
the same world, and they don't have. And look, they don't know what they don't know, but that sometimes means they're
mean,
shitty people. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Diving Bell and the Butterfly, I think he was rich, right, too? I think he was very
not as rich as this guy,
well-to-do.
but yeah, I think
he was like an editor of a magazine.
Yeah, I think
or
he had like a
something
nice,
that, yeah.
like a smaller house, but like a really nice house in a nice location.
Yeah. I mean, but again, it wasn't about. It didn't have this like. It wasn't about the lifestyle, the rich and famous thing, which almost like the movie sort of almost like glamorizes that part, a bit, in the sense of. Damn it, his name keeps slipping my mind too. What was it? What
Chris?
I even told you was Risk. He's like in awe. He's like, this is cool, in awe of the places or things that they get to do or whatever. And it's funny. I mean, some of the funny scenes were still very, I really thought were amusing. The opera, his reaction to the rock.
That was
opera,
good.
That was funny.
He's like, he's a tree.
That was
He's a
hilarious.
tree.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing
loved
at
it. I
that.
thought that
I was
was-
dying.
that was pretty
It's so
damn funny.
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Right?
So I mean, again, I thought there was again the movie. I think again, if you're willing to go with the ride, it's pretty entertaining and it's fun to watch these guys. But I think you're right, Denny, too. If you want to think of, I would think, or
I don't want to think
Yeah.
about it. I can't help
No,
it.
but if you
I
end up,
mean-
you can end up either way. Like I said, it's a fork. You can end up as a viewer, you can end up being like, okay, it depends on your mood that day, I think, right? Like what's on your mind and what is stressing you? Because if you're not in the mood and you're annoyed by little things like this, you're not going to like it. But if you're like in the mood to feel good about like, oh, the high level idea of like everybody needs somebody in their
these
life.
guys from
It's
different
all right.
classes can help each other, and isn't that neat? They both
Yeah.
teach each other something. Blah blah blah.
Well, when you
Isn't
put it like that,
cool?
John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but it's if you want want to go along with it, it's a positive message. But you could see your point too. It's like, here's this rich asshole who knows what he's done with his life or what kind of waste he has that he could help out thousands of people. And he chooses not to. But that's everywhere right now too. I mean,
he wasn't going to help this guy out unless he, was a quadriplegic. So,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. What other films? Pretty Woman, Richard Gere wasn't going to do anything if he didn't need a hooker.
I don't get the
well, he's like rich, he needs a friend and he befriends her, but so
poor rich guys, man, they really have it tough, don't they?
I don't remember the whole detail there, but yeah, and she has her wild, crazy ways, which he finds, pretty cool. Because she's from a different
We're talking
class.
about Pretty Woman, TC. He left for a half a second.
I'm just trying to think of other films where there's a pretty scenario where, rich guy meets poor person and
it's
they
like
develop
almost
a friendship.
All sorts of movies.
We should watch Trading Places. I haven't seen that in a long, long time. Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, I think.
Yeah. Sorry for bringing in the negative train. I did laugh a bunch in the middle.
No, it's fine. I mean, these are good points.
It's a huge issue right now, too.
Yeah.
We have like all these class wars going on. Meanwhile, we've got these millionaires that are just making money hand over fist.
Look at me getting laid off.
Right?
Yeah.
Fucking after all those
they
years
can
of
afford
service.
to not let
People
you
were
off, and they fucking do it anyway.
People were so confused. They're like, out of all the people that you left, right? Like,
somehow
Jesus
they're not
Christ.
the bad guys. Somehow it's the immigrants that are the bad guys. It's the transgender people that are the bad guys. It's God knows what else. So again, we're not like asking.
The bad guys are anyone that takes the money from the rich guys,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's this
right.
cartoon. There's this great cartoon of like this really rich guy who's got like a big pile of cookies. And then there's a black guy and a white guy on either side of him. And he like leans over to the white guy and says, "That black guy wants your cookie." Yeah,
I think I've seen something equivalent to that. Yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember but that's the idea.
I'll have all the
Like,
poor
it's like-
people fight, and you can just like keep all the cookies.
Yeah,
they'll be fighting each other for the cookies.
That's the idea of this culture war too, right? On either side, in some ways, it like really sort of distracts from like, wow, everybody's having hard times except for all of our CEOs and
who are
whatnot.
doing
They're doing
fucking great. They're doing the best they've ever done.
Better than ever.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we got to cut back and lay off, and AI is going to take all these jobs. But at the top levels, people are just doing pretty damn good things.
Yep.
So yeah, it was Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, John Landis is the director. This is Trading Places. It's got a 7.5.
We're changing rails here. Somebody,
why not? It was a 1983 film. Eddie Murphy's a homeless guy. Dan Aykroyd is this up and coming businessman. Anyway, I'd be interested. I have no idea how well it. Whether it makes any sense to watch it, how weird it might be from a modern perspective. He did the Blues Brothers as well.
7.5.
He also directed that,
John
which is almost made IMDb. That's a 7.9. That would have made our list. That's pretty close.
Diving Bell and the Butterfly has 8.0. So, any more thoughts on this movie?
No,
I wonder. I was thinking that the actor who plays Driss, he hasn't done a whole lot of stuff, but he was, again, great to watch. So I was like, well, what else has he been in? He hasn't been in a ton of other stuff.
He was in Jurassic World and X-Men Days of Future Past.
He's been in some popular Hollywood things.
He's been in 75 things. What are you talking about? That's a shit ton.
75. Holy shit.
And he was in the newest Jurassic World movie. He's been in all the Jurassic World movies. Those are huge movies.
Oh, yeah, those are huge. I just haven't seen them. So
therefore, he's done nothing.
Why haven't I seen him more?
Yeah.
That's me.
Why haven't we heard of this movie? Because it wasn't that popular in the United States. It was popular in a lot of other countries, though.
But then it got remade and made money as The Upside, which had Bryan Cranston in it.
And didn't hear about that one either. Not supposed to be great.
Well, that one had I guess for a while it was like Nicole Kidman was going to be part of it, but this one is Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, Nicole Kidman was in this one. Nicole Kidman played the role of the red-haired secretary.
That sounds like a strange movie.
I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting character list.
Yeah.
Wow, this is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what a
you want
fantastic
John, did you read any
movie.
books? The answer is no, right?
You got any trivia?
I got a little bit.
All right.
This is as of 2013. This was the most successful French language movie of all time in Germany, Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Austria, Israel, Denmark, Iceland, Estonia, South Korea, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, Hong Kong, New Zealand, and Norway. So that's where all this money comes from.
Until Lucy came along.
No, that's for France. So
just France.
In France,
I see.
It never became number one. It became number two. Welcome to the Sticks was number one, but then Lucy came out later and pushed it back to number three. But Canada has a cult following, which I'm not sure you could call it a cult if it was this successful, but they play it every year at the Windsor International Film Festival since it came out.
Okay.
Then in Germany, in 2012, Germany is like a big movie industry. They watch a lot of American movies. It was the most successful movie in Germany, beating out Skyfall, Ice Age, and the Twilight movie that came out that year, which is pretty huge. And in terms of box office, it made $10 million in the States, and it made $416 million international.
That's good.
So that's probably why we haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah. I did feel like there was some cultural disconnect in part of these things that I might have been bothered by in the movie.
I think so.
Yeah. Tease is just like, all the problems you have with the movie are your problems, man. It's all fucking your fault.
Maybe
it's all
you
your
should
issue.
say,
It's not my
wonder
issue,
who
so
the
it can't be
racist
anybody else's
is
either. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that was longer than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean,
That's good. Might have to edit a lot of it out. If there's a hard edit, it ends here. Hey, everyone liked the movie, guys. This has been a 3-minute long
we're going to watch
episode.
your silent film next. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Feel
great.
good
87 minutes
tearjerker.
long.
Sweet. So would you put the Intouchables in the top 250?
No.
Would you recommend it to people?
Yeah, to some people, it's like, hey, do you want a feel-good film? There's a feel-good film.
And if they're not the type of person like you, Denny, that's an intellectual, sure.
That's an insult. I'll take that as an insult.
It's a backhanded compliment.
I don't like it.
Somehow
I don't like
insult.
It's like,
I'm going to be thinking all night tonight what you meant by you spent too much time in San Francisco. I donate to places. I'm thinking about the poor people.
You've been living there for too long, my friend.
I thought living there longer has been like with some of the conversations, it just makes you, because you can feel threatened by.
Nah, everybody's
around you.
woke up there. Everybody's
sensitive. Whatever woke is to you,
it
it's a malleable
Same
term.
here in LA. They're all sensitive. Can't tell them anything.
By DeSantis people is that there are systematic injustices in the system. That's what woke means.
So by definition, anything woke is a good thing.
Anything woke means that there are things in the system
By DeSantis,
that basically fuck people over.
Yeah.
They had to define it legally. So that's what that means.
Yeah.
But really, it's all about the drag kids, the kids, turning into sexual.
It's about getting pissed off about a
shows.
big person who was born as a man beating girls at sports. That's what everyone's getting all flustered about these days.
Don't even get me started with that one.
Who
don't even get me
cares?
started
That's
with
who
that
we
one.
should be real upset about.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the sexual predators are all the religious people. But hey, they're at least heterosexual rapists. That's okay. We're all right with that.
Wow, we're really finishing this one on a strong note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join us next time.
I knew I shouldn't have brought that up.
Shit.
I was like, this is going to lead us down to a path that's not going to be a very fun path. But here we are. All right.
All right, come back and join us next time for politics and movies.
Yeah.
God. Gonna have to do the edit button on this one. All right, guys.
Yeah, you're gonna have a rough go on this one.
Yeah. All right, so we're doing Diving Bell. That's what we decided on. Diving Bell and the Butterfly. But,
okay, we're gonna have a little quadriplegic film
marathon
thingy.
Sounds like fun. All right, we're gonna regret this. Talk to you guys next week.
Bye.